so much for joining us today. It's such a pleasure to spend our evening with you, and we want to get to all of your questions and give you all the advice throughout this evening. We know in this new virtual world, we know how difficult it can be to stand out to colleges, especially competitive direct medical programs. And if you're here tonight, you probably want to know more about those programs. And with college application rates becoming increasingly competitive, summer break can provide you with a solid 8 to 10 week period to focus on meaningful activities and opportunities to set your application apart and help you hit the ground running for applications. So that being said, a great first step is to think about what to do this summer. And that's exactly what you're doing right now, attending this webinar to get all the information. But first, I'd love to tell you a little bit about who you are or who we are and why you should listen to us. So my name is Michaela. I'm lucky enough to be one of the counselors at Moon Prep along with Nidhi. And I previously worked as a staff writer for a national magazine. I helped launch a new magazine with them. I was also previously an admissions counselor at a Big Ten university. So I've been one of the people on the other side of the screen receiving applications and reading essays. And I love to bring this kind of behind the curtain knowledge to all of you and share the college perspective with my own students. This really helps them view their own essays and application from the college perspective of how the college will view them. And of course, from my writing background with the magazine, I love helping students find the story hidden in the activities of their resume.
Hi, I'm Nidhi, and I am a recent graduate of Brown University, and I'm enrolled in Brown's BSMD program myself, which is the PLEMI. I've been helping students craft their college application stories for the past 4 years, and as a BSMD student myself, I'm not too far removed from the whole balancing act that high school and college applications can sometimes feel like. I also have experience with starting organizations and social entrepreneurship, and I founded a nonprofit, which I'm still involved with, called Project New Boundaries for Youth.
Perfect. So we'll talk a little bit about who Moon Prep is. Nidhi, did you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So Moon Prep is made up of a team of independent college counselors who work with students virtually and guide them through the admissions process. The counselors at Moon Prep serve as both a guide and a mentor to students, and we help high school students prepare for top colleges by building an outstanding resume through finding summer research opportunities or internships or shadowing experiences. We help them build the strongest possible applicant profile, so when college applications roll around, they are a very competitive candidate for even the most selective universities and programs. And essentially, we work with each student in a one-on-one. We don't follow a typical Monday through Friday 9 to 5 schedule. We work nights, weekends, and across so many different time zones whenever it is convenient for the student. We specialize in crafting amazing essays based on the hundreds and hundreds of effective ones we've seen. And our counselors come from a writing background and have a variety of different experiences in admissions and counseling. We also have an extensive interview prep and mock interview process, and we work with our students to perfect their answers and help them gain complete confidence before their interviews. We spend our time outside of meeting with students, interviewing medical schools, developing resources for our students, and writing articles so that we can share our knowledge with other people. You are very welcome to check out our articles to see if some of the information can help you with your own admissions plan. Our company is incredibly unique because we accept a limited number of students for each counselor, so we can completely focus on each student's individual needs. We have a focus on highly selective college admissions and direct medical programs, often referred to as BSMD programs. So this is not just an area we've dealt with in the past, it's actually all we do. And our entire company is focused on this. Our counselors meet regularly together to share advice about our students, so when you work with one of us, you're really working with all of us.
So now let's talk a little bit about BSMD programs specifically and why you need to prepare so much. So BSMD programs are also called direct medical programs. They can also be known as BAMD, BSDO, or BADO. So there's a lot of different acronyms and letters out there being thrown around. They're some of the most competitive programs in the college admissions process. When an undergraduate institution partners with a medical school, it guarantees a student can complete their undergraduate studies and then continue straight on to the partnered medical school. So for high school students who already know that they're 100% committed to becoming a doctor, a direct medical program might be a great choice for them. Students can get accepted to a medical school at the same time that they're admitted to an undergraduate program. And this gives them a distinct advantage over their peers, of course. So students accepted to a direct medical program, they don't have to go through the long medical school application process. So Nidhi, as a BSMD program student, she got to skip all of that lengthy medical school process. The students are guaranteed a seat at that partnered medical school so long as they continue to meet the minimum academic and program requirements, sometimes taking the MCAT for a minimum score or maintaining a certain GPA. Just every school has different requirements. Combined programs typically last 8 years, so that's 4 years spent at the undergraduate school and then 4 years at the medical school, but there are some accelerated options where you can complete your schooling in 6 or 7 years. Each program is different, so just make sure that when you are thinking about adding BSMD schools to your list, you're researching the length of the programs before you apply to make sure it's a good fit for what your plan for college is. So now, as you might already know, because you're joining this webinar, these programs can be insanely competitive. Many students want to avoid the hassle of applying to medical school. That's totally okay. And getting into medical school has always been competitive, but it's gotten even more so in recent years. And even the so-called easy BSMD programs are still difficult to get into without proper preparation. And that's why we're here today, to get you prepared with a really jam-packed, maximized summer time frame. I don't know what I was trying to say there. For example, one of the most well-known and competitive BSMD programs is Brown's PLME. And back in the 2019-2020 admissions cycle, there were more than 2,600 applications to that program alone, but only 94 students were granted a spot, which puts the acceptance rate at 3.5%. Also, just as a little snapshot of other numbers, the physician science program at RPI, the students faced similar steep odds. Only 38 out of 550 applicants were accepted this past admissions cycle. And then, of course, at Rice Baylor, the medical school program at Rice Baylor, and the Baylor to Medical Track program, there are only 6 lucky candidates for that BSMD program each year. Just as a comparison, because I know these numbers can be difficult to put into perspective, Harvard's university acceptance rate for its undergraduate class of 2023 was 4.6%. So getting into a top BSMD program can be harder than getting into even the most selective universities in the entire country. These programs are just a few examples of the intense competition that you'll face if you want to gain a seat at a direct medical program in the US. And of course, through the advice in this webinar, you can beat the odds and jumpstart your journey to becoming a doctor right out of high school. So let's jump right in. Since it's our job at Moon Prep to help guide students through every step of the application process, we know right where to start, and that is early. Honestly, it's never too early to get started on this. You can never be too prepared. Just a little bit of planning during the summer can save you so much time. And just as a side note, I was previously an admissions counselor who constantly dealt with applicants that weren't prepared for college and that, maybe applied the night before, didn't really think that much about what college they were going to. So I've seen those applications, and we just want to make sure that you're avoiding that. And part of that is being here tonight. So again, we could be on this webinar for days and I would never run out of advice, but we'll keep it kind of reined in and shortened for you guys to an hour tonight, so you can get on with your lives. But basically, to be a competitive BSMD candidate, you need to be a top student in your class. You need to have strong test scores and spend hours outside of the classroom developing your interest in science. And that's kind of what we're going to cover today. Building your resume with medically focused extracurricular activities will take more than just one summer. Take a look at your application profile, identify and fill any gaps that might exist, and really spend this time growing as a student and a person. You will learn to network and gain leadership skills and focus on your love of science by spending your summer the right way. And of course, candidates who display a sense of maturity and passion, those are the ones who will be able to beat the low admissions odds. Before we kind of get into the next slides about talking about how to spend summer preliminarily, I'll answer a couple questions I saw come in right at the beginning when we opened. So we are going to be talking about BSMD programs this webinar, and I see a couple questions about what if you want to work in allied health. And traditionally, BSMD programs are really focused on producing doctors. So if you're going to be working in healthcare outside of an actual doctor role, there are probably other programs that are a better fit for you. Of course, there are always people that go through medical school and then decide to do something a little bit different than a direct, like doctor path or opening their own clinic or working at a hospital. But there might be other kind of programs that would fit your exact specialty that you might be interested outside of a doctor role. Do you have anything you feel like you want to add to that, Nidhi? Anything that you know at all?
No, I think I pretty much agree. So BSMD programs really are focusing on creating physicians who want to practice medicine. Of course, if you have an interest in being a physician and a policymaker, or a physician and a scientist, that's often seen in BSMD programs. But if you don't want to practice, I think there are definitely other programs such as master's programs or combined undergraduate and higher ed programs that would be maybe even a better fit for you.
And one of my best friends is actually in a program just like that. She's in a dual master's program that is not a BSMD track, but it's a dual master's program that's exactly fits into allied health. And that would be, there are a lot of amazing programs out there, especially at state colleges, or like the state medical programs that do have those combined programs like that just maybe aren't MD focused, essentially. So I think that's kind of it. We kind of covered those. We'll cover kind of a special for our webinar guests, but we do not offer pro bono sessions. So we do spend our time outside of working with students developing free resources like our ebooks and doing these webinars, and then writing articles so that as much of our information and advice is shared with students. But we don't spend time working with students just completely for free, because we do spend so much time outside of working with students developing all these free resources for students that want to kind of do it on their own. So thank you for asking, though. Perfect. Okay, we can move along, or unless you found something else you want to answer.
No, I guess we can dive right into summer plans. So before I get started with that, we're going to break this webinar into two parts. So the first part, we're going to focus on suggestions for aspiring BSMD rising freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors to focus on during their summer break. And our second part will provide actual examples of particular unique activities that students interested in a BSMD program can pursue. And we're going to try to touch on some activities that will be particularly relevant as we come out of this pandemic, when a lot of traditional activities may still not be fully available. So without further ado, the summer before freshman year. At this point, students probably won't have that much of an idea of what high school will even be like. So at this point, I wouldn't worry too much about doing things for the resume or for building your BSMD application docket. But you do want to be able to hit the ground running as you enter high school. So some generalized tips. Number one, brush up on academic writing. And what I mean by this is learn how to craft an argument with a topic, sentence, evidence, and a conclusion, and how to best structure an argument. There are so many resources online, and as well as activities where you can read and learn to better familiarize yourself with academic writing. This is really going to help you in subjects ranging from the sciences to the humanities. So everything from your biology class to your language classes to history or English. And I see that many students suffer the most because they don't know how to structure an academic essay or academic writing pieces. So learning how to structure an academic argument and brush up on your academic writing skills is possibly one of the best skills that you can develop for yourself as you enter your freshman year. My second piece of advice for rising freshmen is that if there are any general electives, try to get them out of the way, because later you'll thank yourselves, and you'll also have space freed up for those higher level classes that will look great to potential colleges. So my school required me to take one health class and one ethics elective, which I took the summer before my freshman year. And this was so helpful because, one, these two classes were out of the way, and I could fill it with another couple of courses that were more tailored to what I was interested in, and I wouldn't have to add it to my school schedules. And it also gave me a taste of what high school coursework would be in a summer setting, so I could devote more time and kind of learn what high school classes would be like. I also know of so many students who took their PE requirements over summer so that they would have this longitudinal time slot to take another upper level class in their later years.
That is such a good point. I feel like I talk to students all the time that they're like, well, we can't get, chemistry and biology in, by junior year because I'm taking music, and they could have done that ahead of time. So that's such a good point.
Oh yeah, definitely try to squeeze those electives in so that you have time later. All right, so on to sophomore, the summer before sophomore year. Could we have the next slide, please? Awesome. So yeah, during your freshman year, you would probably have a good grasp of what high school is like. You would have used a lot of your time at school to explore extracurriculars, especially those that are science related. You also probably have a pretty good idea of where your passions lie. So now you're in freshman year summer, like the summer after your freshman year. So now is a good time to start using your summers wisely. So you can try to find a volunteer position in hospital, clinic, or nursing home, and this can honestly become a longitudinal position that you can continue over the next few years. I would also recommend starting to prepare for the SAT or ACT. I know it may seem early, but this is a time when you have the most minimal obligations. You're not really taking any higher level classes, and your course load will probably be super light compared to your later years. So it's a good idea to start studying for your standardized tests, and you can even aim to take it for the first time during the fall or spring semester of your sophomore year. And finally, you can just keep exploring passions that can pertain to more longitudinal activities. I personally took a very introductory position in a neuroscience lab my freshman year. I learned that bench research was not necessarily something that I wanted to do, but I'm very grateful for that experience because it gave me that first taste of what research is like, which really parlayed well into my later summer experiences and gave me something to build off of in the future. And now, after your sophomore year, by this point, you will definitely have an idea of what exactly your academic and extracurricular interests are, and also you will probably know what problems and challenges you're interested in working towards. So during this year, you will definitely narrow down your focus to a few select extracurriculars, and you should never be obligated to continue like 10 or more activities. So you really want to focus on positioning yourself into leadership positions and taking on more responsibility and finding depth in the activities that you're passionate about. And now, during the summer before your junior year, there are so many things that open up to you because you're now an upperclassman and you have some experience under your belt. So now you can spend at least a couple summers in the lab if you decide that research is something that you want to pursue, and that can help you gain long-lasting relationships with the professor and faculty within the lab and learn how to properly conduct research. If you really find a project you're passionate about, you can even set yourself up to be published, which is huge for high school students especially. Sophomore year, the summer after sophomore year is also a really great time to pursue volunteer cultural or service experiences abroad for maybe part of the summer. A lot of schools offer partnerships where you can study abroad and both explore the culture and take part in service in a country different than your own. I participated in a service learning exchange to Peru where I could both practice medical Spanish and shadow local physicians. I know a friend who did a similar program with environmental health in Thailand, and these are good programs if you're already into language study. I'd also definitely like to reiterate that during the summer, you should definitely spend time shadowing physicians or doing some sort of medically relevant volunteer work to build your medical experience and repertoire. This can help you start to build both your clinical and research experiences. And also, many colleges and universities start offering pre-college programs and summer sessions. By this point, if there's any schools that you've already established as a dream school, this is a great place to show demonstrated interest. So if you really know that you want to go to Yale, Yale offers a global scholars program that is either residential or virtual. So, and also if you have any particular niche interest in any of the topics or courses being offered at these programs, this is a great place to start. I had a student in the past really interested in racial justice, and Summer at Brown offered a leadership course exploring racial justice and its intersections with health, and he participated and absolutely loved it. And yeah, some examples of these programs, in addition to Summer at Brown and Yale Global Scholars, are like UC Davis's Cosmos program, and a few of the other UC schools offer residential and virtual programs. Many local universities or local organizations or even hospital systems also offer their own research programs or internship programs with joint volunteering and shadowing or combined. So definitely do your research and look out for those opportunities. And finally, make sure that you are on top of your summer assignments, club obligations, and are studying intensively for the SAT or ACT, because you will probably be taking it for the final time, either right before or during junior year, and you want to make sure you can get that score as high up as you can go. And now we'll be transitioning to your summer after junior year. So you're almost a rising senior. It's your last real summer to kind of focus and push before college application season. So during the summer, I think it's best that you focus on one or two strong summer activities that you can continue while also finishing up any last minute testing and getting a start on college applications. You just want to pack in the possible activities and experiences that will authentically showcase your true passion for the BSMD track while remaining on top of everything else and starting to write your essays, because you definitely want to leave a lot of time for essay writing. If you had a longitudinal lab internship, definitely spend more time researching with the ultimate goal of maybe being able to present or publish findings. A summer camp dedicated to research, STEM, or pre-medical studies is also a great option. And a side note about these camps is that many of them have late winter deadlines. So just make sure that you don't miss an opportunity because you weren't paying attention to deadlines. You should also continue to spend some hours each week volunteering or shadowing a doctor. And by this point, again, it would be very helpful to have found a longitudinal volunteering or shadowing experience. And finally, like, if you really need to take the SAT or ACT one last time, this is your last chance to do it, because you'll want to have the required score going into your senior year so that you can really concentrate on applying to colleges instead of preparing for standardized tests. With regard to college preparation, to make sure you hit the ground running going into your senior year, you'll also want to prepare your college list this summer before senior year. So you definitely should research various BSMD programs and make sure that you've met all the requirements before the applications even open. You can also start working on your personal statement during the summer, because the Common App will already have released the personal statement prompts. And this is 650-word essays, so if you finish that before school starts, you can just concentrate on the many, many supplemental essays you can complete. And BSMD applications are very time-consuming. You might be writing upwards of 45 essays as a competitive candidate. And lastly, you will likely want to use your summer to research and visit colleges, so you can go with friends and family to check out a few campuses and decide which one might be your future home. And we know that due to COVID, a lot of them will probably not be open for visits. So if you're not able to visit them across the country, YouTube and some online sites offer virtual campus visits, so you can get a feel of what campus culture might be like. So definitely spend some time virtually visiting campuses.
And now we're going to be highlighting some specific activities that you all, as potential BSMD applicants, might want to consider to further explore your interest in medicine and just demonstrate this interest as part of the story your application will tell to college admissions. These are the areas to spend your time in high school to prepare for BSMD applications. So first we have shadowing. Doctors, direct medical admissions officers, they want to see that you've experienced the workplace of a doctor, because they're guaranteeing you a place in medical school at such a young age. They want to make sure that you're serious about becoming a doctor and also understand what the role of a doctor is. Therefore, you need to spend some time shadowing. And this is a big thing too, is, BSMD programs are not going to want to admit people into their highly specialized programs of 10 students sometimes. Some of those programs have like 10 seats. But they're not going to want to admit people to those highly specialized programs that might change their major to English after their freshman year. They want students that have had, that they know they for sure want to become a doctor. So they're not scrambling and like losing their class of MD students either. So that's part of, you need to demonstrate that this is an area of passion for you and you're not going to be changing out at the last minute. So I would aim to spend at least a few weeks over the summer job shadowing. And this is regardless of which summer you're in, because you should have multiple experiences, not just one shadowing for, a couple weeks. So, no matter what summer you're in, plan to spend some weeks job shadowing. The more you're able to spend with doctors, more time, the better experience that you'll have. When you're job shadowing, you'll also get the chance to observe a professional in their day-to-day activities. You'll get to see the pace, expectations, responsibilities, and the workload that doctors undertake on a daily basis. This is just an essential part of applying to BSMD programs. They want to see that you have an understanding of this, because how can you commit to becoming a doctor if you aren't sure what the job entails, or even if you've ever explored specialties. They just want to know that you've confirmed that interest. So to find a doctor who will allow you to job shadow, search within your own network. Reach out to your own pediatrician or family doctors. And if they aren't able to accommodate your request, like, always start small and then broaden out. You can reach out to local hospitals or clinics and ask them if they will allow you to shadow a doctor that maybe you don't have a connection with. And that's perfectly fine. They also went through medical school. They know the drill. They know that you need some shadowing hours, so don't be afraid to ask, even if you don't know the doctor. It's just important to make the relationship mutually beneficial. Let the doctor know that you're prepared to help around the office and perform any tasks they require. Be flexible, be hardworking, be punctual, and it would definitely benefit you in the future.
And now we're going to talk about another activity, volunteering. Here, I want to highlight that a long-term commitment to volunteering is so much more important than doing 1 or 2 events during the school year. Service is a huge tenet of many BSMD application processes and is incredibly important to so many of the programs. So you want to start volunteering for a few hours each week in the summer, and then hopefully continue throughout the school year and beyond. And like I said, the summer after your freshman year is honestly a great time to start looking for such volunteering opportunities. Admissions officers do look at the duration and time spent volunteering, so by starting earlier, you can build a strong volunteering resume. Volunteering can definitely still be done during the coronavirus. You can tutor virtually, write letters to people in retirement centers, organize a food bank, even reach out to a nonprofit to see if you can assist them with marketing or social media. Over to the side, we have some volunteering ideas, from Meals on Wheels to food banks to tutoring to fostering a parent, to being a foster parent to an animal or pet, to planting a garden, to hosting a food drive, to sending a letter, or even taking a virtual internship course or volunteering for a political candidate. This list is definitely not exhaustive, so there may be so many local volunteering opportunities in your area that you can reach out to and join. It all depends on what's available and where there is a need in your local area.
Yeah, and for local volunteering, I know students have found volunteering opportunities on Volunteer Match, and and there's also like local websites that do that too. I'm sure there's like local websites. There's one local to me that I have found some volunteering experiences on, but I don't know what that would be called elsewhere, but also you can be proactive in this too. So you can, if there's no volunteering opportunities that you're really running into in your area, just start looking at like nonprofits in your area, local nonprofits that are smaller, and just seeing if you can just ask to like volunteer with them, or do they need a new website built or something like that? Do they need help with social media? You can volunteer in like out of the box ways too, just for nonprofits or businesses that are doing really good things in your community. And you're the expert in your area, so definitely use that to your advantage and just help your community grow. And another thing that helps students stand out is gaining research in a lab. So after all, as a doctor, you're not just treating patients. You need to be using your critical thinking skills and reasoning skills to research diseases and discover new drugs and treatment. So research is an essential part of being a doctor. Having research skills is essential as a doctor when faced with a tricky diagnosis. As a high school student, proving that you have developed some of those skills and that you have really just lab tasks can help you stand apart from your peers. And there are several ways of going about getting research experience. So one of them is science fairs. Competing in regional science, state, or national science fairs can help you learn necessary research skills. You can recruit a local scientist or research professional to help mentor you and guide your work. And when you're deciding what to do with what your science fair project on, consider what areas of science might interest you if you have a specialty in mind. Start thinking broadly and then narrow your focus onto a specific subject matter. And as you come up with ideas, talk to your science teacher or a mentor about your thoughts so they can give you advice and help you fully develop your idea. If you're struggling to come up with a good project, you might want to look at past science fair projects. This might spark a new question for you that you can then explore and answer through that science project. And of course, as you begin to explore your topic, you'll discover that your idea might become more and more of like a niche area, helping you discover where your interests truly lie, especially in like a specialty. Competing in a science fair might, give you accolades, and you'll also learn invaluable skills and lessons and gain useful real-world skills. And then, of course, we also have summer research camps. So, of course, as we mentioned earlier, another way to gain research experience is to attend a research camp. Most of these are held in the summer, and many of these camps are hosted by prestigious universities like the Science Research Institute at MIT or the Clark Scholars Program at Texas Tech University. But however, you should look carefully into the program before committing to it. Some of the programs can cost thousands of dollars per week to attend. And while you will likely have an enriching experience, paying thousands of dollars for like one day does not make a camp better than one that costs less money or is like longer term, things like that. So applying to competitive camps like RSI or the Clark Scholars, who accept just 80 or 12 students respectively, will definitely prove your potential to admissions counselors and also just show that you are committed to research. And honestly, very few students kind of pursue research like this. And so a summer program is a great way to do that. And it's a way to add this rare and uncommon item to your resume to stand out. And then, of course, you can work in a research lab as well, but this is a little harder to get because honestly, it's just understandably many professors or postdocs, they don't want to be slowed down by someone who's inexperienced in their lab. But with some persistence, you can usually find a lab that will allow you to come in and work and gain real world experience. And some of the actual summer programs do give you this hands-on lab experience, which is why the right summer program with research is such an amazing find. And if you're wondering if during the pandemic, area can still get these experiences, it's possible. So sometimes we just rely a little more heavily on those camps. And also science projects can be individual. You can still plan an individual science project. And you also might want to reach out to your local universities or college to see if you can help their lab research virtually, or even conduct an analysis of data that a lab might already have to give them more insight of their data and also to help out your own resume. This is really your time to show, not tell, colleges that you have an understanding of scientific principles and that you can also fully think through a problem, like problem solving. Research is kind of the path less traveled for students. Most students kind of only focus on volunteer experience. So by just pursuing research in any way, you're really going the extra mile to stand out in the crowd, not cloud. I said cloud. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, one way to guarantee research on your resume is to participate in research programs. And we have one to suggest to you. Rising Researchers is geared towards giving you skills and knowledge to embark on research on your own after the program to be published in the future. So they are focused on giving you the skills to really take research into your own hands. In addition, you are working on research, real research, under a huge name in research, which is UMass Amherst. This program is only 4 weeks, so it fits perfectly into maybe other summer plans you already have, or even internship or shadowing experiences. This can easily fit into your summer. There are still a few seats available, but it truly is nearly full. So if you are a bit behind in your summer plans and you want to add research to your resume, act right now and email hello@risingresearchers.com. I do have a special with an amount off of the final price to mention on a future slide. But essentially, students will be working on microbiology research with a postdoc, and I just cannot recommend enough. If you don't have research on your schedule for the summer, this is like your last chance. I don't know of other ones that are still open right now. So yeah, that's basically it. Kind of other than research and shadowing and volunteering, there is an importance of like adding a wow factor to your resume too. And that's where we want to talk about passion projects. So now, again, we want to make sure that you know if you're applying to schools with the Common App, there's only 10 spots there to be able to list out your activities. So we're not saying that you need to get involved in like 30 research programs over the summers and things like that, but this is the time to see, is there something on your resume or maybe your background that you can take to another level? And then that becomes a passion project. Sometimes it doesn't even need to be a separate item on your activities resume, but you can just take it and like take things to the next level. So what I mean by this is just some examples. There was a student, a Moon Prep student from last year, who did a mission trip where he was fitting prosthetics in kind of an underserved rural area to kind of a population of people that didn't have access to prosthetics. When he came home from that summer experience, he realized that the materials they were using were extremely expensive, and the same people that he was fitting and things like that, if they ever broke their prosthetic, if they ever had an issue that went wrong, they would never be able to afford a replacement. So he started working on seeing if there were more inexpensive materials that he could potentially build a prosthetic out of, and he ended up succeeding and was eventually published in an academic journal. Another student spent time over the summer in an orphanage and realized that a lot of the kids were getting sick very often because there was no like kind of nurse's bay or infirmary. So when a kid got sick, they were just all together, and then the whole orphanage would get sick. And so when he came home from his kind of summer, he was actually interning with a doctor in the area, and then got to know this orphanage. When he came home, he spent an entire year just fundraising and gathering funds to be able to build and also stock with first aid equipment, nurses bay. I'm trying to like think of like what the word is, like a medical area. I don't know what the word is. Infirmary. I don't know. Sick bay. I think that's only like in Star Trek. I don't know. I'm like, I've heard that word. It's probably something nerdy. And then also I had a student, this was like years ago, like 10 years ago, but I always refer to her because it was the best project ever. Her mom actually developed diabetes when the girl was a freshman. She found out with her mom that her mom had diabetes. And so she started an entire year long, actually more than a year long, it went on forever, where she was working on how to manage diabetes through diet alone. And she started a community garden. She published a book of recipes for the new diabetic to transition to managing their new life through diet, essentially. And her book is still out there to buy, and it's just an incredible story of something from her background, her personal life, that she took to the next level. So all of these examples are experiences that a student had with their personal or something on their resume that they thought about and came up with a solution and took something to the next level. And that's really that wow factor that we're talking about that students can pursue. Oh, good. And then, would starting a club at your high school count as a passion project? Absolutely. So, there are so many ways of doing this. I would make sure that the club that you're starting kind of has an educational aspect to it to make sure that it kind of remains in that passion area. I know of a student who did start a club at his high school, and he turned it into a medical focus club where he's actually having physicians come in and give speeches about their different specialties. And then he's also creating like a little internship network where he's connecting students in the club with physicians to have them have shadowing and internship experiences. And it's all out of a club that he founded at his high school. So it depends on like what the club is kind of geared towards, but it can absolutely be a passion project. I would just kind of recommend sticking to like the educational side of things, and then it really clearly ties into a passion a little easier that way.
Yeah, I also would like to just say that I agree with that. There are so many different things you can do with school clubs, and schools have so many resources because they really want to support you and furthering whatever interests you may have. So I know students who've done anything from starting an environmental interest club to offering different trainings that are medically related for students to learn more about CPR and emergency first aid and first responder training. So yeah, like starting a school club would definitely be one of the best ways to start a passion project.
Yeah, definitely.
We're gonna keep talking about how you can stand out. So we like to say that you should try and pass the WOW test. So you really should think about what makes your activity stand out. If you were gonna tell your friend or neighbor about the activity that you're involved in, would it make them go, wow, that's really cool? Like Michaela was saying, the students who've really impressed us over the past years are those who've taken their extracurricular activities and passions a step further. So things like getting published in a research journal or self-publishing a book or a guide, starting a podcast or a blog, running an informational campaign on social media, launching a YouTube channel, publishing a website or a blog, or even holding a workshop or an online course, or something community related, like getting trained and then training others in a skill. Each of these students, each of these examples show that students have discovered a problem or a need in their community and found a solution. And with projects like these, they're really multifaceted. They show that you can collaborate, research, and apply your education to make your community that much better. Admissions officers really love to see the impact that you can have on other people, because that's one of the basic tenets of like being a physician, impacting other people. So it's super important that you find something that you're interested in and just continue to develop it until you're the best you can be in a particular area. Like we touched on this earlier, but starting your own club to do these things is once again a great idea to start with your passion project. And even that shows an amount of drive and leadership skills, which is a quality that admissions officers love to see in their candidates.
Absolutely. And I did see another question too. I'm part of the summer science program this summer. Since it's biochem and not medicinal research, is it as important? That is perfectly fine. I have had students, I mean, a lot of students do actually major, in biochem or biology, if they're going in a traditional undergrad. So that's a perfect fit for kind of BSMD schools. Anything in biology, chemistry, kind of like those really those deep sciences is a total match. So absolutely, that is a perfect fit for when you're applying to BSMD programs. You don't see a problem with that at all, right, Nidhi?
No, not at all. And going off of that, a lot of the times BSMD programs love to see that you have a spike in one area of medicine, or like something within medicine, or like a topic or a subfield that you're particularly interested in. I have so many friends for whom that spike was biochem or biochemical engineering, and they're just really interested in the science behind medicine and the science behind innovation. For me, that was environmental science and also emergency medicine. I have friends interested in global health. So if you are interested in biochemistry, definitely stick with it and pursue activities in that realm.
We definitely do recommend kind of building kind of a theme throughout your resume so that colleges can see like a trend, just like, oh yeah, they're definitely developing an interest, a very kind of focused passion in this one area, and it makes total sense. Instead of just like a bunch of like random things on your resume, it's good to show them that you have explored a little bit, and you're not just like, I have only shadowed like 15 doctors in pediatrics. Like, it's good to show that you've explored a little bit, but at the same time, we do like to show that you're developing a theme and really deeply developing an interest. So that looks great to them. I am a senior taking a gap year, so I could not write a research paper for my college applications, right? I believe that's referring to like submitting a research paper for your personal statement, and I would not recommend that.
Or
Am I
or
wrong?
or do you mean like being able to get published before college apps?
Oh, I see that angle. Okay. Maybe I'm way off.
Like, please clarify for
So
either one.
I think, Sherry, I recognized your name from our last webinar, and I think there was a slide on there that talked about the timeline. Typically, getting published in a medical research journal can take all the way up to a year. And so, unless you kind of were able to kick that out really fast and start the process really, really fast, it would be pretty hard to do that before this coming fall. That's not to say it's not possible, but I would just, if that's the route you want to take, I would just try to do it very soon and to see what success you get. Spend all of your time knocking it out.
Or even if you're in the process of getting something published, it's sometimes better to write publication pending, because colleges will take that into consideration. I advise so many of my students who are in process of getting published, but maybe just not submitted yet, to say that their publication is pending, and like with that, they can show that they're in the process. But yeah, it can take a while. Definitely.
Perfect. And then we also wanted to create a special just for our webinar attendees. Of course, we're glad that you're spending your evening with us. We want to thank you in some small way. So right now, when you sign up for one of the very last seats in Rising Researchers, you will get $600 off. So just sign up by Sunday. Send us an email at hello@risingresearchers.com, and you will receive $600 off. Just mention this webinar, and it's as easy as that. So we just want to thank you for being here, and we are going to kind of go into a couple other little slides here to wrap up, but send in your questions for us to answer at the end here, and we will make sure to get to them.
And like Michaela and I mentioned earlier, we do pour a lot of effort into creating free resources in the form of ebooks and webinars for anyone who's interested in navigating the college application process, and specifically the BSMD application process. So please don't hesitate to reach out and make use of our free ebooks or webinars at either of the two links.
We would love to have you join us for other webinars. We love to see all of your questions. I wish we could see your beautiful faces, but you just have to stare at ours instead. And also our goal is, of course, for you to leave this webinar learning and also feeling more confident in being able to tackle the admissions process on your own, but also to know that we are there for you with advice if you feel like you can't tackle it alone. So if you would, we would love for you to share your positive experience with others. If we've answered your question on live and answered it well, we'd love to kind of like hear from you. And if there's something you'd like us to work on, add more information about a certain topic, or if there's a topic that you want us to cover that you don't see on our list of events, when you click that Eventbrite link, if there's something you'd like us to cover, send us an email. That is just there's a link to an email in the chat right now for feedback. If there's anything you'd like us to change or something to focus on in the future, please give us some insight. We would love to hear some suggestions. But also, again, we would love to hear a positive review too, for others to find us and also benefit from our advice. If you know of anybody that could use some advice, send them our way. We also wanted to leave you with just a few ways to contact our company too for individualized advice, and also, of course, we offered those free resources. Just before we start our Q&A session, I just wanted to show you that there are some upcoming webinars. We would love to have you join us. We have a checklist for summer for rising seniors. So that's similar to today, but it's not completely focused on BSMD programs. So this is more of a general, if you're maybe applying to state colleges or Ivy League schools, this is a perfect webinar for you to join to get some ideas for this summer. And then also we have our incredible How to Write a Winning Personal Statement, where we will help you with ideas for your essay. Please join us on that one. And then also How to Wow College Admissions Staff with Your Extracurriculars. We'll be spending a lot of time this summer helping you brainstorm really creative ways to stand out, as you can see by the list of webinars coming up. So, and of course, on the screen is our email address. And then, of course, we also had the link in the chat for more free resources. If you're interested in meeting one of our counselors, even me, one-on-one, or Nidhi one-on-one, you can schedule a free call directly on the website to learn more. And we also publish a monthly newsletter that I work very hard on. So all of our followers have the latest college admissions news. You're welcome to stay in the loop on college admissions news, medical news that way, and you can sign up on our blog page on our website. And we do have some good questions, so I'm excited to tackle those.
Awesome.
Do you want to take this one, Nidhi?
Sure. Yeah. So the question is there an age or grade requirement to work one-on-one with Moon Prep? No, we actually do not have an age or grade requirements. I've worked with everyone from like freshmen to seniors, and I think, Michaela, you were telling me we even have like someone as young as 4th grade working on like middle school applications. So no, there's definitely not an age or a grade requirement. Yeah, we can really help. We might focus on bolstering like college applications and getting you prepared throughout high school. But no, we don't have any age or grade requirement.
Basically, if you've got college admissions questions, we've got answers, and we don't care your grade. Can public speaking or social justice passion be shown in connection to benefit the BSMD admissions? Yeah, and this is also something that you can do if you want to demonstrate kind of your passion about social justice. That's something that can also be potentially, something you could weave into your essays as well to kind of show, not tell your kind of passion there. But public speaking, I'm trying to think of like ways to highlight that for BSMD. Do you have any ideas? I don't know. Public speaking.
I mean, public speaking is a very broad skill. I guess you can tie that into really leadership anywhere. Of course, BSMD admissions, they love seeing generalized leadership qualities too. I have at least 3 friends who are on their student councils for their respective schools and use that platform to start some wellness initiative within their own schools and local communities. So that's definitely an area which can benefit from strong public speaking skills. Social justice, like Michaela was saying, definitely easier to tie in because healthcare and social justice they're so entangled together, and there are so many causes that you can get involved in to intertwine the two together. But yes, they definitely can be shown in connection and honestly can take your application that one step further.
Yeah, what if you started a club or even developed a workshop in your school that was like focused on helping students overcome a fear of public speaking or overcoming shyness kind of in front of others, and you kind of had a mental health aspect to it, kind of like getting to the root of why people are scared of public speaking. Man, I would attend that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, sure.
That would be something that like shows leadership. It connects kind of both things, and you're developing something, founding something for your resume. You could do something like that in your community or your school.
No, yeah, those are there are so many ways to kind of tie them together. It's just kind of finding your niche.
Oh, do you have any? I do not know any.
Let me see. I have a friend who did AIS.
Okay.
I know AIS. That's they offer both like year-long and summer programs. I don't know that many BSMD students who've done like the year abroad and then like gone successfully into a BSMD program. I guess like it's many different school systems can kind of disrupt your longitudinal shadowing, but like if you want to do something during the summer, I think that's a little more advisable so that you have time to focus on a lot of different things. I also like schools offer their own respective programs. Language study is really looked favorably upon in the college application process in general because it's a communication skill. You can appeal to a wider variety of people.
Yeah.
So if that's something you're passionate about, yeah, definitely go for it. I took Spanish and Latin. Latin you definitely can't exchange anywhere in the world. Spanish, I did a program through my school. But yeah, language is definitely something I'm super interested in.
I feel like when I've researched them, they've always been offered through a college in another country. So like it'd be like through the college in Spain, and like that's where the program was offered through. So I would just do Kelly, this was a question from Kelly. Kelly, I would just recommend just a good old-fashioned Google search for kind of like the keywords that are like that you're interested in. So if it's language, if it's more like Nidhi said, kind of more of a shadowing medicine opportunity, I would kind of just do a good old-fashioned Google search with some keywords and maybe where you want to go, because if you get suggestions of like places, like Germany, my dad's from Germany, so I'm going to pick on Germany because it's, my own thing. But if you're like, if you get programs in Germany and you're like, I don't want to go to Germany, then that's why I would kind of search for like also specific places too. So.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. It's definitely very place-based. I just remembered the U.S. Department of State offers the Critical Language Fellowship, and I have 3 friends who've done that. It's an incredibly selective program, but they do have a high school chapter. So if there's a language or a region you're really, really interested in, you can apply to get government sponsorship to go study in this area. So I have one friend who did Korean and one who did Arabic, and they studied in South Korea and Morocco, respectively, for over a summer. So I think that's a really big one for high schoolers, but it is extremely competitive and selective.
Why don't they have these programs for adults? I want to go to Morocco.
Jeez. I know. The college ones are even more selective.
I know. It's like once you graduate college, you're like, well, you don't get to learn anything new ever. Send me to Morocco.
Totally. Take me with you.
All right, if there's any final questions, I'll kind of wrap up here. But if there's a last question that comes in, we can for sure answer it. But, we've hopefully left you with quite a few action items for your family to tackle together towards your students' goals. And we just want you to know that you're not alone. We are here for advice if you ever need it, either through another webinar like this, or if you want to sign up and schedule something with us. We are so happy to meet with you. I know that we like to pack a lot of material on these webinars. So I just want to say thank you for hanging in there. And I just feel so thankful that you all chose to spend your evening with us. And we hope to see you soon on another upcoming webinar, or maybe meeting with us one-on-one. But
yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Michaela. And it's just been really great to spend this time with you guys.